I'm going to tell you the exact exercises you need to build an aesthetic body. I made it very simple. I made sure that these exercises had simple techniques, so if you're a beginner or if you're intermediate, any skill level can do them. It'll be available in most gyms, so these exercises are barbell and dumbbell, and I chose two per muscle group, and which helps if you don't have much time, you just want to get in and out of the gym real fast and just build the aesthetic body. I'm going to show you the exact exercises you need. Obviously, more can help. You can do more exercises, but I think these are the bare minimum you should be doing or some variation of these. All right, let's go. So first is chest. For the chest, we need at least one heavy pressing movement and one form of fly movement for because the pressing is going to build the mass for the chest, and the fly movement is going to build that separation in between the chest. So I chose the low incline dumbbell press and the pec deck, which are the chest fly machine. And I'll explain real quick why. Low incline. First of all, let's talk about the incline I was going to talk about why dumbbell over barbell. But first of all, with the incline, especially the low incline, compared to flat, so even flat barbell bench or flat dumbbell bench, incline and decline is more natural for your elbows and just for the movement of the weight. So if you ever try doing a flat barbell or a flat dumbbell, you see it stops right at your chest. You can't really get much more depth, plus it doesn't target as much of the upper chest. And I think that when we're trying to build an aesthetic body, I think that upper chest is way more important than just building that chest mass overall, like in the lower part, as if you were competing for like bodybuilding. So I think if you just want to do one heavy press, this is exactly what I do. I don't do any other variation. If you want to, I'd still prefer decline over flat. But you do incline, specifically also the low incline, because what the low incline is going to do, the more I find it, and a lot of other people find that the higher you go with the incline on the bench, the more front delt, like your shoulder and your tricep you're using. But if you're like right above flat for me, I find that that's the most natural, that my arms get to go down and get stretched, especially with the dumbbell. And so let's talk about why I prefer the dumbbell over the barbell or the Smith machine or a chest machine, an incline chest machine. And I find that the dumbbell is more natural for my elbows. And also, that's another big thing that, especially once you start lifting heavier and you get a little more advanced, is that barbell is really fixed, which means it doesn't have a lot of natural movement. And it takes a toll on your elbows. Like I was literally just doing barbell incline the other day, and my elbow was just in pain. And when I do dumbbell, it's less strain on my elbows. But the reason I prefer the dumbbell is because it's way more natural in the movement as compared to a barbell. So with the barbell, it's very flat, it's very fixed. And so you can't really push it up and squeeze all the way, squeeze together at the top like you can with the dumbbell. The dumbbell, you can go, when you pull it down, you can pull it all the way to your chest and really widen it up and tuck in your elbows for that good chest stretch. And then when you go up, you can squeeze together to get a good squeeze on your chest. I feel you can't really do that on a barbell. It doesn't mean the barbell is bad by any means, but I prefer the dumbbell, or same thing with I prefer that to the Smith machine as well. But then there's also the chest machine, like the incline machines, and I've just never really liked them, because another thing is you can't get as deep with your elbows like you can with a dumbbell press or even a barbell press. I feel like the machine kind of tells you where to go, and it just doesn't feel natural to me at all. But that's why I'm picking this for the chest. And also, I'll say that there's, on the bottom, you'll see I say preferred. So the exercises that I'm choosing are the most accessible, but the preferred is more niche machines that you might not find in most gyms. But for this case, for a dumbbell press, I think it's still the best regardless of whatever equipment you have. But let's move on to the pec deck. So like I said, now that we have that pressing movement for building the mass, especially the part of the upper chest, we need separation, which is only going to come from a fly movement, which you can do. Some people like dumbbell flies. I think they're just hard to feel the chest, but a lot of people swear by them. I think pec decks, this machine is in most gyms anyways, and I think it's the best, just basic for building your chest, or for building that separation and doing some form of fly movement. There's also cables, which I like as well, but I think pec deck is the most beginner friendly for a fly movement, and it's really easy to go up in weight too. And it's pretty safe compared to like dumbbell, which can also be a little more dangerous and a little harder. I think a lot harder than just the pec deck. But I prefer this one. Like I said, this is a very niche machine. You're not going to find it in most gyms, but this is the one I like the most, which is just lying chest flies Yeah, that's really it. They're just the machines that a lot of them are, most of them I think are plate loaded. But yeah, if you have this machine, I think you can try it. You should try it out. But either way, I think the pec deck is still solid for any skill level. All right, next let's move on to the shoulders. So what we want to do with the shoulders is focus on building the lateral head, which is the top part of the shoulder, which gives you more of that V-taper lift, which is extremely important for building aesthetics. And I will say you won't see any front delt, which is like that front part of the shoulder, exercises. I'll never advocate for them. I don't think they're bad, but we're trying to build an aesthetic body. If you ever notice people with very overdeveloped front shoulders, especially modern bodybuilders, I'll say one right now, like Sam Sulek, he admits it all the time that his front shoulders are overdeveloped. It just looks very stiff, and which obviously that looks good on stage, but like I said, none of us are trying to get on stage. If you're watching this, I don't know why I'd be watching this. You should be way more advanced than I am. But if you're trying to compete on stage, then obviously, yeah, I think you should be doing more front delts, or if you really want to build like a bodybuilder look. But if you really just want to build the aesthetic body, all we need to focus on is the why am I just forgetting right now? The top of the lateral head. But I forgot to put, now that I realized, there's also rear delt, which is the back of the shoulder. So if we go back to the pec deck, I'll just say it right here as well. Most pec deck machines, I've never seen one without it, can adjust all the way to the front, I guess all the way to the back of the machine, but you sit on it backwards and you can do rear delt for the back of the shoulders. But for the lateral heads of the shoulders, which is building that big V taper like you can see in this bottom right picture of Arnold, we want to do lateral raises and overhead pressing. And so first I'll get into lateral raises as to why these. I mean, everyone does them, but why dumbbells? As I also think they're just the most accessible. Not everyone can do pulleys, which is also, I think, a little better. I prefer some form of lateral raise machine, either the seated one or this one's a little more niche, but the standing lateral raise machine, just because with free weight lateral raises, even with the pulley lateral raises, they can I feel like you can use a little too much momentum and like not focus and isolate the shoulder. And the reason we do lateral raises is because we want to isolate the shoulder. It's one of the only few exercises out there that really does isolate just that part of the shoulder, which is the lateral head. And if you're training your shoulders, I think you should be doing these exercises first before you do any form of pressing or any other. If you're doing like a push day, I think you should be focusing on using your lateral heads or doing lateral raises first, because if you think about it, the lateral head and just the shoulders are used in a lot of other pressing movements, so they get really fatigued. And we want to isolate that part of the shoulder with as much strength that we still have and as much energy as we have, so we can still focus on building as much of that shoulder as we possibly can. So I'm always going to recommend lateral raises in any routine. Like I said, I prefer machine lateral raises, especially the standing lateral raise machine, but if you just do the dumbbell ones, that should work perfectly fine. Another one right here is the overhead press with a barbell. I prefer them over the Arnold press or the dumbbell press because you get more range of motion. And a lot of people aren't even doing overhead press because they think, oh, well, that mainly builds strength or it uses a lot of front shoulder, like a front delt. But it literally, it's the lateral head that's being used the most, honestly. I think even Jeff Nipper just made a recent video when he's talking about his new gym, like his $1 million gym that he built for science. He did a study where he was trying to focus, and he said that, yeah, even the overhead press on the machine uses a lot of lateral head and shoulder. It's not just part of the front delt. So that's a lot of people, for a lot of reasons. The biggest reasons people avoid this overhead press movement, but I think it's just great for building the mass, and obviously it is also just good for strength. But I prefer the behind the neck press, which I know a lot of people are scared to do because they're fear of injury or they don't have enough shoulder mobility or flexibility. I do, and I think it's something that should be trained because it gives you the most range of motion out of any of the overhead press variations, because you go all the way down to your back, kind of like you're doing a squat, but even further down. So you're constantly keeping that tension and you're doing the overhead press motion. So I think it's a great exercise for just building that mass as well onto the whole shoulder. All right, next is the biceps. So I'm keeping it very simple with the biceps. Some people think you need to be doing a lot of exercises for the biceps, but think about the biceps, they're really small muscles. They only have two functions. They just supinate the wrist and raise the forearm part of the arm up and down. So you don't want to be doing too many exercises. I really think these are the only two that most people should be doing. And so first is the barbell curl with the straight bar, not the easy curl. And the reason why I avoid the easy curl bar when doing barbell curls or just any form of curls besides maybe the Nautilus machine, but that's like a whole other thing. Because the straight bar works the biceps. The easy bar works the brachialis, which isn't what we really want to focus on. We want to focus on the biceps. So the straight bar, I know a lot of people complain that it hurts their wrist. I personally never had that issue, but I think you should still be finding a way to just get that straight bar, some form, even with dumbbells, some form of straight up and down bicep curl. And when I do barbell curls, I do 6 to 8 reps. I do heavy barbell curls. A lot of bodybuilders always swore, like guys with the best arms, like Lee Priest said he would do heavy barbell curls. Mike Menser, they all advocated for that straight bar, heavy barbell curls. And for preferences, I think these are both the greatest exercises for the biceps. And talking about the dumbbell concentration curl, this one's really good because you can go really slow and focus on it. And another thing about this is really focus on that range of motion. That's why it's called the concentration curl, because you can focus on it. And I don't even really know what else to say. If you don't know how to do it, you literally just sit down one arm at a time and you just curl all the way, fully extend your arm down, fully extend it up. It's really that simple. And see what else we got. So next is the back. And so there's two purposes when we're training the back. We want to widen the back, which is expanding those lats and building those wings, which it gives us that aesthetic V-taper look. And we want to add thickness, which we do with rows. So we need some form of lat exercise that's going to widen the lats. I think the most accessible in most gyms have the lat pull down machine. I prefer this close grip and palms up because it gives you, I've always felt that it gives you more range of motion than the overhand lat pull down that most people do, or even like the hammer ones on the side. I think this is the best. And it also, it works your biceps. And some people have a misconception that it's more of a biceps exercise than a lat exercise, but think about it, you're still pulling all the way down to expand and squeeze your lats. You're still doing a lat pull down, but now you're involving your biceps, which not only targets them, but helps you move the weight more, because when you're doing regular lat pull downs, your biceps they're giving out anyway, so you might as well use them. And speaking of that, this is why I put this Nautilus pullover machine. This is like the only lat exercise ever in the world that strictly targets your lats without involving your biceps, because like I said, your biceps are giving out on your lat pull downs or any lat or back exercise for that matter. This machine is like the only one ever that uses just your lats, and it feels amazing, by the way. Like the pump afterwards and even the day after, just feeling that soreness, it's like the best lat exercise I've ever done. Mike Menser and Dorian Yates swore by them, and a lot of old school bodybuilders, but you don't see them in gyms anymore, so it's really unfortunate. And also, next to the pull downs, you can see I also put pull-ups and chin-ups. The reason I would prefer these over just pull downs, because I just think they're better, but I understand that most people can't do them, especially like beginners. I can't even do one pull-up yet, let alone like a chin-up. I mean, I guess a chin-up uses more bicep strength, kind of like the same thing here, but if you're strong enough, I think you should be involving more pull-ups and chin-ups in your routine. And if your gym has this machine, definitely go for it. It is the best machine I've ever used. And like I said, so now since we've widened the back, we don't just want a wide V-taper back. We also want a thick muscular back, which is what we're going to use, or what we're going to do rows for. And these pictures that I found, I couldn't really find any that have the best form for the row. The best form that I learned, and I can attest to that I feel and have seen build the best back for me, is this barbell, but not standing upright, just like leaning over more, kind of like the picture below it on the T-bar landmine. Lean over with looking down and then fully stretching and then fully contracting back. That's how Lee Haney talks about doing his barbell rows and the T-bar rows. And I find it works the best for me, and it's the best for preventing injury, because you literally just neutral spine, you're not arching your back, and you're not looking forward. For me, it always felt unnatural. I don't know why everyone does it, but yeah, just like that, you just look down, neutral flat back, and just stretch and then explode up. And then I also prefer I think the barbell row is one of the best, if not the best, rowing exercise because Ronnie Coleman did them, Lee Haney did them, Dorian Yates did them. So the best backs in the world were doing barbell rows. But T-bars are also great too. And you may notice why I'm not using like chest supported rows or cable rows, because with the barbell row or with the T-bar row, you're using your core and you're also getting, for me, I always thought more range. It's never felt as much of a, because these are kind of compound lifts ish, not as much as something like a squat or a bench press or a deadlift, but I guess on the same level of a bench press. But for me, I've always liked having that. I mean, you use your core a lot without the chest support, and I think being able to use that and also getting a little bit in your legs as well really helps more than you'll ever get with the chest supported row or like a cable row, because you're sitting down on the cable row. So I think these are just standing neutral are the best. I understand that barbell rows are pretty hard for beginners because, I mean, the bar is already 45 pounds for the most part, unless you have like lighter bars. So if you really can't do barbell rows yet with good form, then definitely just stick to dumbbell or machine or cable rows for that part. Next, we've got the triceps. I'm keeping it very simple. A lot of people online like to complicate tricep training by seeing certain heads of the tricep, which I think, I mean, if you're pushing weight down with your triceps, they're all getting like the whole triceps getting targeted, but that's just a nitpick. And also, I don't think, especially for aesthetic bodybuilders like we are, you should be focusing so much on heavy or tons of sets on the triceps and biasing certain parts of the triceps, because for the aesthetic body, which I talk about in my program, which we'll get into in a minute, and just in other videos on talking about what the aesthetic body is, the triceps, overdeveloped triceps is an issue that kind of kills aesthetics. It's like kind of how we're talking about the front shoulder, like the overdeveloped front deltoid. Same thing with the triceps. A lot of people have overdeveloped triceps that are really into the gym or really into bodybuilding, and it ends up looking very blocky, stiff, and weird. And that's not saying don't train your triceps, obviously, or don't train them intensely, but you shouldn't be focusing on overdeveloping your triceps compared to like the rest of the arm. But anyways, for the tricep exercises, just a simple cable push down. I think most people have these, and doing the dips. And I'll talk about the cable push down first, because I think it's just the most simple one and I've seen basically everyone do. Every bodybuilder, everyone in the gym always does these. There's also skull crushers, but I've always found, and a lot of other people found, that it takes a lot of stress on the elbows as well. Kind of like how we we're talking about with the barbell bench earlier. And preferred, I couldn't even find like a good image, because my gym has this and it's really niche as well. But a lot of people also like the overhead triceps, but I think the overhead machine feels the best for me. And another reason why I didn't include overhead triceps is because another thing is that, similar to the skull crushers, a lot of people complain, I complain as well, that it takes stress on the elbows. But this machine that just is more like isolated felt amazing for me the first time I did it. Like the best tricep pump I've ever had, the most soreness I've ever had on the triceps. But I think keeping it simple is really easy, and you shouldn't overcomplicate it with just the regular cable pushdowns. And so, talking about the dips, I know it's kind of like the pull-ups where a lot of people can't even do one. But I also know that most gyms have tricep dip machines, either assisted dip machines or just seated dip machines. But I think if you can level up and really work on the free weight dips, just not even free weight, that's just body weight dips, though I think it's one of the best exercises you can do, because obviously it's mostly a tricep exercise. It also works great for that lower chest development and that front shoulder. So remember how I was talking about earlier that you don't really need to do much front shoulder work because they already get targeted, especially with the dips, and especially that lower chest if you don't want to do decline, or if you're worried about, I'm not getting that hang, like that illusion of your chest being, your pecs being heavy and getting like that hanging chest. That gets targeted here in the dip. So I think the dip is really one of the greatest exercises ever. And if you're not able to do them yet, I think you should really focus on trying to do them. And especially once you get up to that level and you get, like, if your gym has free ones, or if you have one, you get like a dip belt. So it's the belt with that chain, and you can put weight in between your legs and do weighted dips. I think that's the S tier exercise of all time. And if you're not able to do them yet, you should definitely start working on being able to do them. And just real quick segue, quick sponsorship. It's literally just me. If you want this full aesthetic program, because right now I'm just talking about the basics of it, but if you really want everything laid out, you can check out my community. To join, it's literally just $1 a month where you can talk to me, talk to others, and get a free bonus PDF guide on how to take shirtless pictures that I just made, all for $1 a month. But if you really want the full program, you get the training guide, the exercise program, the diet, meal guides, and recovery. You can do $49 just one-time payment for the whole course. And if you really want to level up, there's one-on-one coaching, which if you join the community and talk to me, we can get that settled. But top link in the description if you want it. So next is the legs. And I think this one's another one that we can keep really simple. The squat and the leg extension. And if you're kind of worried about hamstrings, don't worry, because we're going to talk about it. But the barbell squat, you may be wondering why not the leg press. I just think the squat is better as a compound exercise. I know we're not trying to be powerlifters, but having a heavy squat is also just, I think it just feels really good. I think it's really good for your health, for your knees, and I think it does more for, I've always felt, for the whole leg than the leg press. If you really just want to not worry about injury, which the squats are, if you do them right. I'm sorry, I just have a lot of people complain about barbell squats and insist on leg presses instead, but I just think if you get the form right, really focus on getting that barbell squat, especially if you got squat shoes. I think it's one of the greatest exercises of all time. But then there's also, which again, most gyms don't have this, the pendulum squat, because it lets you go a little deeper. It gives it a little more, it's like a really weird exercise, really good one, but it feels completely different compared to the barbell or any form of squat or a leg press movement that I've ever done, because like the feet are angled and it really helps. I think it really helps with mobility, really helps with just squeezing it out. I don't even know how to describe it, but I see guys again like Jeff Nippard insist by these, guys like Will Tennyson who always just love this exercise. So if your gym has it, I think pendulum squat might be better than the regular barbell squat. And then for the quads as well, just regular seated leg extensions. Most gyms have these as well. I've never actually been to a gym without them, but and there's no preference. I think these are great for just isolating the quads and just adding mass definition to the quadriceps. And then I got this page for just hamstrings and extra, and you'll see I don't put any hamstring curls or hamstring isolation, just because I don't think they're that important for the aesthetic body, which I talk about and which I teach about and which I coach and which I have. So there's no Romanian deadlifts, there's no hamstring curls. I think just doing the regular deadlift, and that's not just for the hamstrings, but I think it targets the neck, it targets the forearms, it targets the back. I think it's another overhated exercise that I think is one of the best exercises that not enough people are doing, especially people who are focused on hypertrophy. They think it's just a powerlifting movement, but the deadlift is truly another one of those exercises that's just so great that I can't believe people aren't doing them. And they're going to target your hamstrings really well if you're doing them right, and also just so many other muscles in your body like the neck and the forearms, which a lot of people don't train, and a lot of people won't need to train extra if they're doing deadlifts. And then also a lot of people talk about not doing ab exercises, or that abs are made in the kitchen, but even if you get to a lean enough body fat, those abs probably aren't even as developed, and we want to get like a washboard six-pack. It's a really hard, really developed ab. And I think just ab crunches, most gyms have this bench, just laying down and doing crunches on these. If you don't have this bench, I think literally just laying down on the floor and doing leg raises, or doing not standing obviously, but just like the regular, I don't know how to describe them, but on the dip machine, whatever you want to call them, not the machine. I don't really know how to talk about it, but what is it called? I'll put it in when I edit it, but those leg raises also work well too. And then there's these bottom two, the neck curls and dumbbell shrugs, aesthetic exercises that not enough people are doing. A lot of people are walking with developed muscular bodies but skinny necks and skinny upper traps or small upper traps, and it really does a disservice to their aesthetics and their physique and their frame. So most people need to be doing neck curls because most people aren't even doing deadlifts, so they need to target the neck in some way. And Neck curls are a very underutilized exercise. I never see like anyone doing them, but that's how you get that aesthetic neck. And same thing with the dumbbell shrugs. A lot of people are doing them. I stopped doing them just because when I deadlift and I look at myself in the mirror, I literally see how pumped up my traps are, and they've really like developed my traps, my upper traps that is, because the lower and mid traps get more work from the from barbell rows and T-bar rows. But if you have a skinny neck and you don't have a developed upper body, like and when I'm talking about upper body, I'm talking about like from the collarbone up. So like when you're wearing a shirt, like the muscles people see, which is your neck and your upper traps, that not enough people train. Definitely need to work on that with the neck curls and the dumbbell shrugs. And the final exercise that people aren't doing is just cardio. The most simple way is literally just getting your steps in, even just 6,000 a day, or using machines, treadmills, bikes. I brought these, the elliptical and the Stairmaster. And the key to it is just don't be a sedentary bodybuilder. Don't be a guy who only goes to the gym to lift weights and look good, because part of looking good and also just being healthy is doing cardio, because it'll get you shredded and it'll help you with your gas tank when you're doing really heavy compound lifts or just other lifts in general. You don't want your cardio running out when you're doing lifts before your muscles do. We want to achieve true muscular failure. We don't want our cardio to fail first. But yeah, so that's the best exercise that I can recommend for an aesthetic body. If you just do these, it's basically like the bare minimum, but it's the best minimum, I guess. Like, these are exercises that will build an aesthetic body. And again, if you want to get help with that, go ahead and check the link in the description. I'll also put in the comments for my program or my community in general. And if you like, I haven't done these types of videos in a long time, or at least not on this channel, but these unscripted, just long form, just me yapping. Let me know in the comments. If not, I'll go back to the scripted, just voiceover. But yeah, take care.